correct. From my understanding.
Why?
But because he couldn't get in the premise, but he did provide Janelle with the key, the new key.
Did he give you a key?
No, what happened?
She walked into court claiming her tenant hadn't paid rent for 2 years. No payments, no cooperation, just eviction. Sounds simple, right? But within minutes, the judge uncovers something that flips this entire case upside down. An illegal rental, no certificate, and a landlord who may have just broken the law trying to evict her.
Has ended, and also, there's the tenant has been having problems being able to pay for rent, and she has like 2 years worth of rent payment and utilities that has accrued.
So is the lease ended?
I never had a lease with her, and the whole thing was back in September. I had a fire at the house. The fire department came out, and the city ended up saying that the house was uninhabitable, because the toilet fell through. Angela let me stay there for free, but what happened was when the fire department came out and they saw that the toilet was falling through, that the fire was in the wall, her father, which we were on the call last week, got upset about it, and the city came out and said that the house I couldn't live there. So that's what the situation is with this.
Did you hear that? The tenant is saying the house was declared uninhabitable after a fire. The toilet collapsed through the floor. The city stepped in and said nobody should be living there. And yet, the landlord is standing in court asking for rent for that same property. If this is true, this is no longer just a rent dispute. This is about whether the landlord was even legally allowed to rent that property in the first place.
I asked her, what is her availability? Can I provide contractors to come in? She never really replied back to me, and I have text messages and screenshots to show that case.
First thing is I guess my first question is the house registered with the city to rent?
So I gave.
Hold on. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Chen?
Yes, we are actively working with the city, and we got approval with the city last year. And, everything was, last year or 2 years ago.
Does it have a current valid certificate of compliance?
Not currently. We're working with the city to, but because of the repairs that Janelle mentioned, that we need to fix the subflooring on the toilet, that was one of the biggest issue. But because we can't have access to the premise, and my father has been a lot of the.
I don't know who can't. I mean, there are ways of getting access to the premises, even if he disagrees to get access. So I'm not sure.
That was not what happened. He came in, he changed the locks.
Who changed the lock?
Her father. The city came out.
When?
This happened in December. I submitted all the paperwork from the city and everything, how he came out.
Yeah, that's fine. But he came
and he removed my things.
He what?
And he removed my belongings.
May I interject, Your Honor? During that time, this is an emergency situation. We had to have, the boiler is out, and we had to have, there was no heat in the house. And this is back in November. And I could give you the specific dates. I've let Janelle know beforehand that my father was going to be on premise. I gave her a 24-hour heads up and let her knew. And she knows that it is like.
Ma'am, I'm just going to stop you. Were the locks changed?
The locks, my father mentioned that there were no access to the premise, and he.
I don't know what that means. Did he change the locks?
He did. Yes, correct. From my understanding.
Why?
But because he couldn't get in the premise, but he did provide Janelle with the key, the new key.
Did he give you a key?
And now it gets even worse. The landlord's father shows up, changes the locks, and removes the tenant's belongings. Police had to get involved. Think about that. This is starting to look less like a legal eviction and more like a self-help eviction, which courts take very seriously. Because you cannot just lock someone out of a property without going through the legal process. And the judge is definitely paying attention to this.
Able to have access to do any repairs in this case. And he did tell the police that he was going to give the keys to you, right, Janelle?
No, they made him, the city guy was in a police and they made him put the original lock back on.
All right. So are you requesting a money judgment in this case?
In this case, I would love to just have a motion to evict the tenant.
Because you requested a money judgment on this case, and there's going to be a huge problem with that. The other question is, I guess,
Yes, I did. We request a money judgment because I've always been in contact with Janelle. I always provide a clear payment ledger with her during that time, and all those are forwarded through email.
so, ma'am, did you file this complaint?
My father and I, yes, we filed the complaint.
Okay. And that's David, is your
Correct.
father?
That's right. My father's name is David.
Who owns the property?
I own the property, but recently we just filed to in a joint ownership on the property.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm sure recently because he got called out last week. I'm concerned about some of the allegations that are made in here. There was a lease.
Mhm. That lease was
And the lease has expired?
I
correct.
never had a lease.
No, Janelle, you have a copy.
So what
Back
happened
in
was,
2023, it is in your email.
In 2023 that went through 2024?
Correct. You can refer back to your email, Janelle. This was
they came out and did an inspection and said that the house
When did they do the inspection?
they came back in September, they came in December, and what they said was
December of
2025, like December 9th or 10th. And what they said was they were like, everyone needs to be on the same lease. What her father told us was that we all have to say that we're related, everyone, because it was a rooming house. And they said it was an illegal rooming house.
Oh my God. Are you
because
kidding me?
It's
So
not zoned for that. And I put that in.
no, I saw that, but so how many people were renting this place?
There were 6.
And there it is, the moment this case completely falls apart. 6 people living in a property that is only zoned as a single-family home. That means this entire setup may have been illegal from the start. Multiple tenants, no proper certification, and now the landlord is trying to evict just one person, the only one not paying rent. The judge is connecting all the dots, and this is about to go very bad for the landlord.
When I had the certificate, I used to live on premise, and it was
But you
yes,
lived
it's
on the
now
premises. Okay.
yeah.
So that I get.
But then now because I'm no longer, yes, you're right. We have to be a single family home.
Right. Because you're not on the premises. I get
Correct.
that.
Yes.
So So when did you leave the premises? Jeez.
So this was like around 2020.
Okay.
That's incorrect. I moved in September of 2019. She did not live there. I lived with 5 other people.
Well, I don't, if she says she was residing there, I'm not gonna go back that far. It doesn't really
Yeah, this
matter, because at some point she moves out. When she moves out, that's when the character of the premises change, and it has to be something different once she leaves. So whether she was there or not in 19, it's irrelevant, quite frankly, for what I have here. But
And we've been very generous to Janelle. We've let her stay there due to, I know she had a lot of hardships with like, trying to get financial aid and
ma'am,
having.
ma'am, there's one thing in being generous, and there's also another thing in saying you can stay here, but I'm not going to follow the law. That those are
Mm.
very different things, and I'm not saying they're mutually exclusive, but they are very different things.
Hmm?
And
Yes.
the question is from the court standpoint, is you're terminating her tenancy. Are there other people still residing in the place?
Yes.
I'm open to terminating everyone's tenancy, but yes, there
You can
is,
go ahead and do
they
that.
are, I
I'm
work
trying to
with,
figure out, ma'am, why, if I have a group of people living on the premises and or at some point would have been informed by the city that it's a single family dwelling, why I have one
correct.
case for
And
one tenant?
you are right. We are, currently we never changed back to a single family dwelling in which, and the lease has
Yeah, but
been
I get that. My question is why is this defendant here, but the others that are there not?
uh, you they are so from like yeah, from they are allowed on the premise.
They being whom? These other tenants?
These are the tenants.
What do you mean they're allowed on the premise?
They are like we have permission for them to live there.
From whom?
Oh, from me.
No. Let me try this again. The house is supposed to be a single family dwelling.
Yes,
The
Your Honor.
individuals, as I'm to understand it, are not a single family. You have basically rooms or that are being rented.
Yes, Your Honor.
You have no certificate of compliance.
Not for this year.
Right. And then for whatever the reason, Ms. Smith is brought before the court for a termination of her lease or a termination of her tenancy.
Yes, correct.
And I'm trying to figure out why her and not the others.
The others have consistently, paying me like we have a rent arrangement with the other tenant, and they have been paying.
Okay, so maybe you really need to get an attorney
Mhm.
because under the Ipsy City ordinance as well as state law, if you don't have a certificate of compliance, you can't charge rent. So if you're kicking her out because she won't pay rent, you can't do that under the Ipsy City ordinance because she doesn't have to pay rent because you don't have a certificate of compliance.
I understand, and we're working towards the compliance aspect, and trying to get
Okay,
this.
ma'am, I'm gonna let you know this. Here's what I'm gonna do. Because everybody's saying these things, and I understand you say you understand, but I don't think you do understand. You guys could be in a whole lot of trouble, especially for the changing of the locks and the moving of her items from a place that she has. Could be in a lot of trouble because you're renting but evicting her, and you don't have a certificate of occupancy. And the reason that you're evicting her in great part is because she's not paying her rent, but she's under no obligation if you don't have a certificate of compliance.
And just like that, the entire case flips. The judge makes it clear, if you don't have a valid certificate of compliance, you legally cannot charge rent. That means the tenant may not have owed anything at all. On top of that, illegal lock changes, multiple tenants in a single-family property, and possible violations of housing law. What started as a simple eviction case has now turned into a situation where the landlord could be facing serious consequences. The judge isn't done yet, setting this for a full in-person hearing where everyone will have to explain themselves face-to-face. If this case shocked you, hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments. Was the tenant right not to pay? And subscribe for more insane courtroom breakdowns. Because cases like this only get crazier.